Okay, welcome everybody. Want to say a welcome to everyone and a special word of appreciation to our partners in making this program known to the community, to AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, and we have with us Jonathan Rich, who is the Associate Area Director. Where are you, Jonathan? Stand up. Way in the back, of course, so that nobody could see him hiding. Yes, that's okay. He's new to the community, so we should really give him a good welcome. And I want to also thank the JCRC, the Jewish Community Relations Council, and Paula Jaffe for their help in publicizing tonight's program and in partnering with us on this. It is a pleasure to welcome everybody here tonight. I'm not going to take a long time to introduce our speaker. He speaks for himself. But I want to prove to you that I can read a flyer as well as anybody else. And what I have in front of me says that from 1994 to 2007, Dr. Tirza headed the Strategic and Planning Unit for Judea and Samaria Division of the Central Command of the Israel Defense Forces, Rainbow Operation Administration. He's been a member of negotiating delegations with the Palestinians. He's been an advisor to prime ministers and to the generals of the Israeli Army, defense ministers, National Security Council, Counter-Terrorism Bureau, Planning Branch, Senior Command of the I.D.F. In 2008-2009, he was a member of the negotiating administration at the Prime Minister's office during the Annapolis peace negotiations. He developed a very special relationship over the years with Yasser Arafat. I'll let him tell you about that and Arafat's names for him. It has been my pleasure to get to know Dany when our groups have traveled to Israel over the last few years, and he's taken us to the security fence and to the wall and to a checkpoint. And when you get up close and personal, you really begin to understand it in a way that is very special. This is a very special individual, and we're very pleased to have him with us tonight. I want to just note one thing. We have high school students from TBS, from our high school program with us. They're going to have to slide out of here at 8:30. So if they do, it's not anything that you said or didn't say, Dany. It's just that they have a schedule that they have to keep. Without further ado, Dany Tirza.
Well, works. Okay, so welcome, and I want to thank everyone that came here tonight to hear me. My name is Dany Tirza, and as you have been told, I was a colonel in the Israeli army. I was in the army for 30 years. Most of this time, I was commander in combat units, most of the time at the paratroopers. But in the end of 1993, I was called to be the head of Rainbow Operation Administration. Well, I didn't know what it is. So I came to the chief of staff and asked him, what you want me to do? And he said to me, well, there's something going on there in Oslo. Between the Israelis and the Palestinians, I want you to be there. Take all the security concerns from the ground and be part of the Israeli delegation. So, in a very short period, they have established a strategic planning bench in the central command of the I.D.F., and I took part in all the negotiations with the Palestinians from 1994 till 2007. In 2007, I retired from the Army and the Ministry of Defense. I finished my PhD, and then I was called back to Prime Minister's office when we had the Annapolis process negotiations in 2008, 2009. Then I retired from all of it. Today I'm a free man. I run my own company. But still, when the government needs me, they know how to call me. Well, in this duty, I had to do two things. On one hand, I had to be there in the negotiations, representing the security concerns from the ground, but on the other hand, I had to prepare the ground for the future peace that nobody knew how it will be like. changing all the network of the roads in the West Bank, because till that time, all the main roads were crossing the Palestinian towns. Now we had to construct new roads that will take the Israelis to the houses without entering Palestinian urban areas. I had to relocate all the military camps from the Palestinian towns to the open space. I had to build all the homeland security infrastructure, and even to change the set of minds of the soldiers to cooperate with the Palestinian police against the Palestinian terror. So it was a very interesting job, and I did it for 14 years. In this duty, I had to meet a lot of times with Yasser Arafat, the Palestinian leader. Well, the first meetings were very hard for me because I knew how bloody his hands were. We chased him all over the area, and in Lebanon too. Now I had to meet with him, shake his hand. You know, the Palestinians, when they meet each other man to man, they used to kiss each other. I came with straight hand. No kissing, but working together. And really I felt when people says that you make peace with your enemies, not with your friends. Well, Yasser Arafat used to call me Abu Kharita. Abu in Arabic is father, Kharita is map. So Abu Kharita is the father of maps, because I was the mapper and the territorial expert in all those negotiations. But really it's a joke, because there is another word in Arabic that we are using it a lot in Hebrew too, Kharta. Kharita is map, but Kharta is nonsense. So today I'll try to share with you some of the dilemmas that I had to face when I got the mission from the Israeli government to design and build a security fence. But that was in 2002. I cannot start the story of the security fence in 2002 because we have to recognize that there are two different narratives about the past. As we have our national story, that we really, really believe that this is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, the Palestinians have another narrative. And if we don't recognize the narrative, we cannot understand what this conflict is about. Well, our national story is very simple. We, the Jews, are the people that God promised us this land. He didn't promise it to any Arab. There were no Arabs at that time at that land. We were living there. We were thrown away by force from our land 2,000 years ago. And now we came back to rebuild our nation on our land. We call it that time, the people without land are coming back to the land without people. Because really, in the end of the 19th century, there were no many Arabs in that land too. Of course, there were a lot more Arabs than Jews there. But we thought that we were going to establish a democratic state. In every democratic state, there are some minorities. So we thought that we will bring the Jews from all over the world, and the Arabs will be an equal minority inside Israel. That's what we thought. But as you know, the Arabs didn't like that idea at all. So in 1947, the UN General Assembly took decision to have two states. One state for the Jews, that's Israel, and one state for the Arabs. The Arabs didn't define themselves as Palestinian yet. Well, I'm talking about 29th of November 1947, and the Arabs didn't define themselves as Palestinian yet. Well, we were very happy that finally there will be a Jewish state again. But we were very upset that they are going to part this small country to two states. We thought that the Arabs have already 21 states. Why do they need another one? And this is the only place on earth that Jews can have their own state, especially after the Holocaust. So we didn't like it, but we accepted. The Arabs didn't. So in 15th of May 1948, when the British mandate went away and Israel was established, 7 Arab countries came in with their armies trying to erase Israel that was just born from the map. Well, it was a very tough war. We lost 1% of our population at that war. But thanks God, in the end, we succeeded and we won it. And Israel was built, as you can see today. In 1967, Egypt, Syria, and Jordan tried again what they called that time to throw the Jews to the Mediterranean. Well, thanks God, we succeeded and we won that war too. And in 6 days, Israel occupied the West Bank, the Golan Heights, and Sinai Desert. But we didn't annex these lands to Israel. We let it to the future, though we really believe that there will come a day and we can have peace agreement with our neighbors and live normally in this wild neighborhood of the Middle East. Well, this is our national story, very simple one. But the Palestinians have another narrative. According to the Palestinians, the Jews are not a nation. It's only a religion. And therefore, the Jews have no right for their own state, because there is no state for any religion around the globe, even the Vatican. It's not the state of the Christians, it's the state of the administration of the Pope. So as they see it, the Jews that were spread along the world had a lot of money. So they lent money to the Turkish Sultan and to the German Empire that they will let them build a colony. And they're looking above Israel as part of the colonialism of the 19th century. Well, as the colonialism is gone all over the world, most of the Arabs believe that Israel will vanish from the area too. It will take a time. But in Arabic, there is a word, sabr. Sabr means patience, but a lot of patience. So they say, okay, we have sabr. The conditions there are too tough, the Jews are too spoiled, it will take a time, and the Jews will go away. But a lot of other Arabs says, let's help them go away. So according to the Palestinians, the Jews came from all over the world, trying to take the Palestinian properties, the Palestinian lands. And in 1948, when the British mandate went away, they just tried to get rid from the Arabs that were living there. And that's what started the refugees problem. Well, according to the Palestinians, in 1967, Israel tried to enlarge a border, so Israel occupied the West Bank, the Golan Heights, and Sinai Desert. So as they're living under the illegal occupation of Israel, they have all the rights to resist that occupation in any way. So what we call terror attacks, they call it freedom fight. If you have two different narratives, you cannot match them, because narratives you believe. You can compromise about actual things, but you cannot compromise about your beliefs. And therefore we had 100 years of armed conflict between the sides. That was till 1993. In 1993, something new came in. There were some unofficial Israelis and some unofficial Palestinians that sat together in Oslo, Norway. And they said to each other, we recognize that you have a different narrative about the past. But let's see if we can find a way for the future, if we can find a way to live together, to raise children together. And when they sat together, they found that there is a way. And that's what started the Oslo peace process. Well, we call it at the time the tunnel to peace. There is the great light of the peace in the end. But you have to cross the darkness of the process to get there. Well, as you probably know, in this process, a lot of people lost their life. A lot of blood was bled. But I don't want to get to the details. I want to jump to summer 2000. In summer 2000, we were in Camp David, Maryland, at the peace submission that President Clinton held there. We were 16 Israelis, headed by our Prime Minister at that time, Ehud Barak. The Palestinians, there were 16, headed by their leader, Yasser Arafat. And there was a big American delegation, headed by President Clinton. Just imagine that President Clinton left his office for 2 weeks, and he was with us there on the mountain. So he really believed that we are going to get out from this peace submission with an agreement in our hands. Well, we, the technical staff, worked in a very good environment. Worked on the wording, worked on the mapping. Of course, there were some gaps between the sides, but it's part of negotiation. That was still the last evening. At the last evening, President Clinton held a nice dinner. He stand and said nice words about peace. And then Prime Minister Ehud Barak stand and said to Yasser Arafat, I am willing to give you almost everything. When he said almost everything that time, he talked about 94% of the West Bank, all Gaza Strip, large areas inside Jerusalem, and even the Temple Mountain. But he said to Yasser Arafat, I need one thing from you, that you will sign that this agreement is the end of the conflict between our two people. Otherwise, I cannot give you anything. Because if I'll give you what I can today, and tomorrow you'll come with new claims, what I'll do tomorrow? Well, Yasser Arafat was very angry. He left the dinner, he went to his cabin. 3 hours later, he came to President Clinton, and he said to President Clinton, I'm the leader of the Palestinian people. I'm not the leader of the great Arab nation, all these 21 states. And therefore, I cannot sign that this agreement is the end of the conflict. And everything crashed down in that moment. Well, before I continue, I want to show you some maps. As I said before, I'm the mapper. Oh, it has to be to this. Okay. Okay. This is the map of the Middle East. You can see all these yellow countries. These are the Arab countries, and Israel is just there in the middle. Where it is? Israel is just here in the middle, like a knife in the heart of the Arab world. So you can understand how the Arabs feel about Israel. Israel is not only the Jewish state. Israel is the front of the Western world. So Israel is standing just in front of the Arab world, and we are just the front of all the Western world toward the Arab countries. So therefore, as you see, Israel is so small. This is the map of Israel, as most of you know. The yellow countries, they are the countries that surrounded Israel. Israel is open only to the west, toward the Mediterranean. Here in the north, you can see the Golan Heights. This is Judea and Samaria, what is called the west bank of the Jordan River. And this is Gaza Strip. And as you know, Israel is a very, very small country. If you put the map of Israel on the map of the United States, it's almost 400 times. We are just at the size of New Jersey. All Israel, the size of New Jersey. We are really, really very small country. We are making a lot of noise, but we are very, very small. So we were in Camp David, and we thought that we are in the right way, but everything crashed down. As you know, 2000 was the year that everyone around the globe expected that something new will happen, especially in the Holy Land. We expected to have more than 3 million pilgrims and tourists. The economical level was very high. Relations between Jews and Arabs were very good. We thought that peace is just behind the corner. As the expectations were so high, the disappointment was just the same. It was the day before Rosh Hashanah, and the head of the opposition of Israel that time, Ariel Sharon, wanted to show everyone that we are not giving up the Temple Mountain. So he just wanted to visit her. According to the status quo, Jews are allowed to visit the Temple Mountain. They are not allowed to pray there, but they are allowed to visit there. So he just visited the Temple Mountain, and the Palestinians use it as a trigger to start this terror attack. Well, probably you'll ask me, you, Israel, with your big army and your big intelligence, didn't you know that they were preparing this terror attack? Well, of course we knew. Of course we prepared our army for that. But Prime Minister Ehud Barak was sure that he can change Yasser Arafat's mind by showing him that there is a political solution for the problem, that we can solve it on the table and not on the field, that we can save the lives of thousands of people. Unfortunately, he didn't succeed. So first, the Palestinians were shooting from their areas toward Jewish neighborhoods in Jerusalem. Then they were sending terrorists First with Molotov cocktail bottles, hand grenades, shooting in the streets, putting bombs wherever they can, the explosive cars, and in the end, the suicide bombers. Well, of course, these pilgrims and tourists canceled the tour to Israel. But imagine what happened to the Israelis. Well, I can tell you about myself. I was afraid to send my daughter to a school in Jerusalem after 17 public buses were blown up by terrorists. Who'll be the crazy man to visit the famous Machne Yehuda market of Jerusalem after 15 terror attacks there? The big discotheque in Tel Aviv, 1 suicide bomber, 20 youngers were murdered, and 150 were wounded. All over the country, just name a place, and there was a terror attack there. The people in Israel, they asked the government, separate us from them. We don't want to see them anymore. Don't let them come to Israel for any reason. But the government of Israel didn't want to construct any barrier on the ground. Not in 2000, not in 2001, and even not in 2002. Well, why? As you know, in Israel, everything comes back to the political field. There were some Israelis that said that the only fence we should have is along the Jordan River. You know, when we are talking about the West Bank, we are talking about the West Bank of the Jordan River. So there were some people that says, this must be the only fence. Other people says, no. Put the fence exactly on the green line. Well, what is the green line? The green line wasn't some holy line or some historical line or some international line, not even a physical line. It was just a temporary ceasefire line between Jordan Kingdom and Israel from the end of the 48 war till 67. Well, Jordan Kingdom is not here anymore. The line doesn't exist on the ground anymore. But this is the only political line that defines the West Bank. So there were a lot of people that says, build the fence exactly on the green line. But this line was a very bad line on security eyes because it runs down the valleys. On security eyes, you always want to be in dominate areas. You want to see who is coming to you. You want to be sure that no one will shoot you from above. So really, it was a very bad line. Other people says, no, take the line inside Israel and exclude from Israel as many Israeli Arabs as you can. If these Israeli Arabs are pro-Palestinian, okay, let them live on the Palestinian side. Other people says, no, take the line inside the West Bank and include as many Israeli settlers as you can. And the government of Israel, that was a united government that time, didn't want to come inside that argue, and therefore they didn't construct any barrier on the ground. So what the government did, we had so many terror attacks there. Well, first the government sent us, the army, to block all the roads from the West Bank to Israel. So in 48 hours, we cut all the roads from the West Bank to Israel. We put 48 checkpoints on the main roads, and we were checking every car that came from the West Bank to Israel. But it didn't help. You know, it was like a gate in the desert. We were checking only those who came to us, but it was very easy to bypass by foot these checkpoints. So then the government sent us to catch the terrorist leaders. Well, that's a mission that army loves to do, because if you get the precise information, the precise indication about some terrorist, and you're getting very quietly to his house, or to his headquarters, or to his shelter, and you get the right man in the right time, and you bring him to court in Israel. So, in 2 weeks, we brought 100 leaders of the Palestinian terror organizations to Israel. But it didn't help. Because you know, terror organization, you take the head of it, the next morning they're too new. So then the government sent us to find out where the laboratories, where they make those explosives. So we went inside the Palestinian towns. We blew up more than 300 laboratories. But it didn't help, because you know you can make explosives even in your own kitchen. It's very dangerous to do it, don't try. But you can. So then the government sent a lot of soldiers and a lot of policemen to the streets to protect the public from the Palestinian terror. But that made the opposite. Because if you're sitting inside your house, you're watching out your window, and you see soldiers patrolling near your house. You're going out to the street, there are soldiers there. You're going to the bus station, there are soldiers there. You're going on the bus, there are soldiers there. You're going to the mall, there are soldiers there. Wherever you go, soldiers, policemen, soldiers. So people became very nervous. That was still March 2002. In March 2002, in 1 month, we lost 128 civilians that were murdered by terror attacks inside Israel. And people said to the government, enough is enough. We cannot live with such level of terror. Do something, build something. And the government of Israel understood that they have to take the first decision to let the army design and build the security fence. And that was the moment when I got the mission to be the head of this project. As the government didn't want to build it, the government didn't want to get to the details of the route of the fence. So I was the bad guy that had to walk on the ground with my staff, define the right line of the fence, and build it as fast as I can. At the time that I was still official, a lot of VIPs were coming to see the fence from all over the world. Even Senator Hillary Clinton was with me in the fence in the south of Jerusalem in Gilon neighborhood. And when she came, a lot of people from her staff were coming with her. A lot of journalists were coming with her, of course. A lot of guards were coming with her. And she said the very warm words about the right of Israel to defend herself by building the security fence. Later, when she became the Secretary of State, they took out from a website what she said there. But it's on the papers you cannot take back. But 8 weeks before that, I had there another senator, Senator Barack Obama. When he came there, nobody thought that he would run for the president. So only 6 people came with him, not even one journalist. And I didn't have even a selfie with him. But when I showed him the fence, he asked me a question. He said to me, you're talking about security, and really you have a very good security story. But if you want to defend the Israelis, build a fence near the Israeli houses, not near the Palestinian houses. In that place, it's about 100 meters. But in other places, it's more than 2 miles. So you're using the security story to take Palestinian lands. Well, a very good question. And I answered him, as I can tell you today, that the reason that the fence is built near the Palestinian houses and not near the Israeli houses is a security reason. Well, how come? There is no fence in the world that you cannot cross. Even in Berlin, when they had those concrete walls with landmines on the ground, electric wires, automatic shooting machines, guards, dogs all over the area, people cross the wall. In Israel, we built a system. There are no mines in the ground, not electric wires, not automatic shooting machines. But we believe that you cannot cross it without leaving an indication. And from the moment that we get this indication, we need some space to run after the man and catch him before he gets to his target. If the fence will be near the Israeli houses, we'll just know that someone is in, but we cannot help it. So how this fence works? You can see that it's not only a fence, it's a whole system about 45 meters wide. It starts from the Palestinian side with a simple fence, a lot of barbed wires on it and red signs. So people will know that if they are crossing it, they are breaking the law. So innocent people are not supposed to be on the other side of it. But it takes you just 5-6 minutes to cross it. Then there is a small ditch or cliff that no car can cross it. And then there is the... Here it is. And then there is the fence itself. The fence is built on a concrete belt that is about 1 foot underground, and the fence itself is about 10 feet high. It's not electrified, but it's a very, very sophisticated fence because there are a lot of sensors on this fence that if you touch it, if you cut it, if you climb on it, and even if you come with some metal near it, it gives a precise indication where and what's going on there. At the moment that we get this indication, the cameras that we have all over the area are moving. We have day cameras and night cameras all over the area, so we can see, is it a child that runs after his ball, or it's a terrorist that wants to cross the fence? At the moment that we get this indication, 3 patrols are running. 1 patrol is running down there, but the other 2 patrols are running to the nearest Israeli neighborhoods or Israeli villages to close the way of the terrorists. Then you can see on the ground, there is about 5 meters wide of a dirt path. We're cleaning this dirt path twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. So if someone steps on it, he leaves a footprint on the ground, and that's another sign for us. And then there is the patrolway. The order to the army and the border police is to be in 5 minutes to any call. I'm talking about 451 miles long, and they have to be in 5 minutes to any call. So we need a lot of forces, but we need a very good patrolway that they can run very quickly. And then there is another fence on the Israeli side. Again, with a lot of barbed wires on it. This fence is constructed there to delay the terrorists for some minutes more, and there will not come some innocent men from the Israeli side. Between the barbed wires on the Palestinian side and the barbed wires on the Israeli side, we use another kind of rules of engagement. We're not shooting him if he's inside, but everyone that is inside is suspicious, of course. Well, the first month, the Palestinians test us. They test us in daytime, in nighttime, in wind time, in fog time, in rain time, and the fence is very effective. So today they're not trying to cross it anymore. Maybe 20 to 30 times a week, someone tried to cross the fence. And most of these people that are trying to cross the fence these days are criminals or illegal workers or even Palestinian women that are running away from the families. You know what happened to a Palestinian wife if her husband suspects her? She better run away. But every night till today, we catch between 5 to 20 wanted people inside the West Bank. As you know, Israel have a very good intelligence. So if we get a piece of information about some Palestinians that intend to do something, if it comes from urban area, what is called Zone A, area under the full control of the Palestinian Authority, usually we're not entering this area. We're letting this information to the Palestinian Secret Service or to the Palestinian police, but we're watching that they are doing their job. If it comes from Zone B or C, where Israel have the security responsibility, we're working there. We catch these people. We bring them to court in Israel. If they found guilty, they are going to jail. If not, we're sending them back to the West Bank. Sometimes the Palestinian police or the Palestinian Secret Service don't want to do their job for their reasons. So we have to do it. We have camouflage soldiers in our special units that they know how to get very quietly inside the Palestinian areas, close around the house of the terrorist, and then call our forces. They are coming in, catching the terrorists and going out. We are doing it, but only with coordination with the Palestinian police, because we don't want to have friendly fire between our forces and their forces. It's very effective. Just at the last year, 2017, in 1 year, we prevented 450 terror attacks from the West Bank to Israel. We are living in Israel in a very high sense of security. It's not because the Palestinians don't have motivation for terror. It's because we can prevent it. So most of the fence looks like this, a wire fence. But 5% of this big project are concrete walls. Well, people say to me, we don't like your fence, but we can understand why you build it. But why building such walls? Well, really, I tried to construct wire fences all over the area. But when we came to urban areas, like between Bethlehem and Jerusalem, and I didn't have space to build such a system as I showed you before, and we took a measured decision not to destroy or evacuate even one Palestinian house by building the fence. I'm talking about 451 miles long, and not even one Palestinian house was destroyed or evacuated by building the fence. So when we came to urban areas, I had to construct concrete walls. Another reason. In some places, like along road number 6, cross Israel highway, there are two Palestinian towns, Tulkarem and Kalkilia, and they were shooting toward the traffic that runs on the main highway of Israel. You know, Israelis don't like to pay toll, but no one will pay toll to be shot from the Palestinian side. So I had to construct their concrete walls to protect the traffic from the Palestinian snipers. Another reason. In urban areas, I wanted to reduce the friction between the soldiers and the people that lives on the ground. I didn't want that some Palestinian children will stone the fence. The fence is very sensitive, so the fence will react, the soldiers will run, and it will start something between the soldiers and the people that lives on the ground. And there is another reason. The fence cost a lot of money, and they didn't want the Palestinian to harm the fence. And therefore, in urban areas, concrete walls. So people says to me, okay, we can understand that. But why so high? It's 9 meters high, 27 feet high. Why so high? Can you make it some shorter? Well, really, at first, I tried to construct only 6 meters high. But 6 meters, if you climb it, some people can jump. 9 meters, nobody jumps. So it takes you time to climb it. It takes you time to get down. We have a lot of cameras and sensors to the other side, so we can see if someone starts climbing the wall, and just wait for him on the Israeli side. So it's very effective. So people says to me, okay, we can even understand that. But why so ugly? Well, really, if you go to the Palestinian side, you can see on the walls, there is very, very bad graffiti against Israel. That's obvious, that's in their side. But even on the Israeli side, if you go to Abu Dis neighborhood in East Jerusalem, you can see on the walls it's written, from Warsaw ghetto to Abu Dis ghetto, or all the Israeli soldiers are Nazis, or freedom to Palestine, or look where the American taxes are going to. A lot of very bad graffiti on the Israeli side of the wall. So at first I sent my soldiers to erase the graffiti. But you know, graffiti, you erase it, the next morning there is worst one. But then I had a tour of the members of the City Council of New York City. And they said to me, no problem. We have a special stuff that we're putting in the subway that you cannot make graffiti on it. Well, I sent my men to New York. They brought the stuff. I put it on the walls, and I brought Israeli paint spray. And the spray works. But then I realized that we are living in a democrat country. In a democrat country, people have the right to demonstrate, and they even have the right to draw graffiti on the walls. I know that in a lot of countries, it's illegal to draw graffiti on walls. In Israel, there is no law against it. And I believe that it's better that people will take out their anger by graffiti and not by violence. So today we let the graffiti on the walls, and when I'm driving along the walls and I see this very bad graffiti, I'm proud. I'm proud to live in such state that can let such graffiti on the walls and know that it's part of the democratic system inside Israel. Well, as we constructed the fence and we blocked the way of the terror to come to Israel, we also have to build checkpoints and terminals that people can cross after security check from the Palestinian side to the Israeli side. There are all kinds of these checkpoints, and there are the big terminals for goods and that the Palestinians can export from their area or import to their area. There are checkpoints for agriculture, for farmers that can go to the farmland, and there are the big checkpoints that people are crossing to Israel. About 120,000 Palestinians are coming every day to Israel, and we have to check them, and we have to do it as smooth as we can. The system in Israel of the checkpoints, it's built that it will not take you more than 20 minutes, even in the rushest hour, to cross from one side to the other. I have to admit, in morning time, there are very long lines on the Palestinian side because a lot of workers want to come at the same time to work in Israel, and the gates were open only on 6 o'clock. So a lot of times you have to wait even 2 hours that the gates will be open. Every morning, 2 hours in any weather. So what we are doing these days? First of all, we open the gates from 4 o'clock, not from 6 o'clock. The second thing that we're doing is enlarging the terminal. We're doubling the size of the terminals. And the third thing that we're doing is moving these terminals and checkpoints from the responsibility of the military police, young soldiers, to a professional private company that they will know to give the service better than young soldiers. In those places that we already did it, it's very smooth and it works very good. Well, but as these fans help Israel to save the lives of so many people, it's also made a lot of troubles to the Palestinians. And I tried as I can to minimize the damage to the Palestinian people. Like, I tried to construct as many checkpoints as I can. I tried to bring the best equipment to the checkpoints that it will be as smooth as possible. I tried to train the soldiers to be polite to the Palestinians. You know, it's not easy to train an Israeli to be polite. It's not easy to train 18-year-old soldier to be polite to Palestinians that want to kill him all the day. But I tried. I took money from the budget of defense and let it to private Palestinian clinics that they can give the day-to-day medical service in their side, and only if it's emergency they will come to Israel. I took money from the budget of defense and let it to school buses that take children all day long from one side to the other. I tried to work only on public lands, but if I had to enter private property, first of all, we negotiate with the owner, and then we offer him compensation, once for the damage that we're doing to his lands, and annual payment for the use of the land, because it's temporary, so we are not taking the ownership from the owner, we are just using his lands, so we're paying rental money. But I have to be honest with you, most of these farmers didn't come to take the compensation because they were afraid from the Palestinian Authority that they will say that they are cooperating with the occupation. And therefore we spare this money in a special account in the bank, that if someone will come someday and ask, where's my money, we cannot say, oh, today there is no budget for it. It's there and it's kept for him. Well, really, the Palestinians, and even when President Carter was there, they call it the apartheid wall. Well, it's not apartheid because there are Jews and Arabs on both sides of it. And it's not a wall because only 5% of it is a concrete wall. But when they're calling it the wall, they're pointing to the wall in Berlin. So I was in Berlin. I spent half a day in Checkpoint Charlie in the museum of the wall there, and I came out with some conclusions about the difference between the walls in Berlin and the fence in Jerusalem. There are a lot of differences, but there is one common thing. The day will come, and I hope that this day will be as soon as possible. I pray for it 3 times a day. I'm doing my best, although I'm not official anymore, that this day will come and we'll have peace agreement with our neighbors at that day, that there will be no frighten of terror. I want to be the one that will take off the first stone of the wall in Jerusalem. I love this city so much. I have so many friends in the other side. So really I hope the day will come and there will be no need for the security fence and we can remove it and live normally and quietly with our neighbors, the Palestinians. Thank you very much.
Helps when you turn it on. David Weiss, are you here? Where are you? So David Weiss is our chair for Israel Affairs here at TBS. So I'm going to ask him to take one of the microphones. And I'll take the other handheld microphone. Donnie, you'll use this one for answers. And I'm sure there are some questions, not comments, not speeches, but questions. So who would like to start the process?
Good evening. We are currently involved in a wall issue. $5.6 billion is being required. How much did the wall cost to build?
That's the first question that every American group asks me, so. Well, at first we thought that it will cost us 3 billion Israeli shekels. In the end, it cost us 11. It's not only the barrier, it's all the structure around it. The soldiers, the border police, the intelligence, the infrastructure around it, the bypass roads for the Palestinians. All this project together cost us $11 billion, and it's about 800 million every year to remain it. It's a great money for Israel, and it all came from the Israeli interior budget because the American administration said that this is a political issue, so Israel is not allowed to use the American aid for building the security fence. But as this fence helped Israel to save the lives of so many people, it's also saved the Israeli economic. Because at the time that we had in Israel, in average, every 90 minutes some terror attack. Who will come to Israel? Who will make business with Israel? Who will invest money in Israel? So the Israeli economic reduced to numbers that we didn't know before. Today, when we have very high sense of security inside Israel, everyone wants to do business with Israel, and the Israeli economic arised again.
Questions? Arnie.
Yeah, so I think I read somewhere that Saudi Arabia, which has a problem with Yemen, has erected a fence very similar to this. And is it Israeli components or is it of their own making?
Well, the fence that Saudi Arabia is building now in the southern border with Yemen is an Israeli company, Israeli patent, but it's American-Israeli company that produced here in the United States, but it's an Israeli product. There are some in the back there.
Do you feel that the purpose of the wall was to make sure that the Palestinians went through the checkpoints? Was it to make the people of Israel feel secure, or was it to make it seem like there was some sort of separation? What was the purpose of the wall?
The purpose of the wall was to prevent the terror from coming to Israel, to block the way of the terror. You're doing it by like tunneling everyone to the checkpoints. In the checkpoints, you can't check the people, and you're blocking the way of the illegal people that are coming to Israel. Of course, it had another effects that we didn't thought about them before, and some of these effects are the separation between two people, and when you are separate, you can demonize the other side because you don't know him till you see it in the television, so it's very easy for the incitement to demonize the other side. Today, we understand it, and we have some projects that we are trying to make people meet each other, know each other, but that's the bad effect of the security fence.
You indicated that you went to Berlin and you looked at the wall there, and there was many, many differences. Can you share with us really what you felt were the differences between what happened in Berlin and what you did?
Yes, of course. First of all, the walls in Berlin were constructed for economical and political reasons, not for security reasons. The second thing, it was between Germans and Germans. Here it's between the West Bank and Israel. There it was only 3 checkpoints. We have here in Israel 28 big terminals and a lot of other checkpoints. There it was with mines on the ground, electric wires, automatic shooting machines. Here you can touch it, nothing happens to you. There are a lot of differences like this, but the main issue is the future.
I was wondering if I read in the Jerusalem Reporter magazine that the Palestinians in the Palestinian areas, in their textbooks, have what they call Palestine, all of Israel, and is the world realizing that the propaganda they teach to their high school students or their students adds to the problems?
Well, that's one of the issues that Israel is so bad in it. Israel don't know how to work with the PR. We're doing things, we're trying to find solutions, work on the ground, but we are very bad in the PR because the Israelis are machos. They don't want to show their weakness. So they say, we know. And the Palestinian says, no, we are the underdogs. Look what they're doing to us all the time. And we are trying to follow what is calling the Israeli set of values, the Jewish set of values. When you lie, you don't lie. You're bringing the evidence. The Arabs, no problem. If you repeat the lie time after time, you believe in it. I'll tell you a story. There was the Palestinians are telling this story about themselves. There was one Palestinian farmer that he came to his house in the end of the day. He was so tired, he just wanted to sleep, and the children were running away and playing, and so much voice. So he told the children, go to the other side of the village. There's someone that gives their free nuts. So the children were running, and he's going to sleep. In the end, he just closes his eyes, and he thinks, well, someone is giving free nuts in the other side of the village, and I'm sleeping. He gets on his clothes, running to the other side of the village. And that is the reality. The Palestinians repeat time after time the lies, and they believe in it. It's not, you will take them to a check, and you'll see that they believe that this is the truth. But it's not. Unfortunately, we are fighting in what is called unbalanced war. We are fighting with our Jewish values. The Christians' values are much like it. The Palestinians have another set of values. They use their own people as human shelters. So they know that Israel won't shoot innocent men. But they are using it. They are using it. They are launching missiles from schools. They are launching missiles. They build the headquarters of the Hamas under the hospital in Gaza. This is something that we cannot deal with. We have to follow the Jewish rules and the Jewish moral although the Palestinians are doing and fighting in another way. Because the only right of Israel to exist is following the Jewish moral. And the only way that Israel will exist is that we will fight in our way. They can do what they want, but we have to be strong and to act only according to the Jewish values.
So, I see there are a couple more questions. Our high school students have to go, so I'm going to let them go for a moment. We'll give them a minute to get up and to exit. Dany gets to take a drink of water. We'll take 3 more questions, and then after that we have refreshments in the Friedman Social Hall to your left as you leave the room, while the high school students are going, I'm going to take a moment again to thank those who helped us promote this program, the JCRC and Paula Jaffe, who is sitting here, APAC and Jonathan Rich, who is back here. And I would also tell you that the reason that Dany Tirza is here tonight is because a month, not even a month ago, 3 weeks ago, Yael Aspel and Sophie Aspel and Audrey Aspel and I spent a day with Dany, and Yael said he's got to come to TBS and tell the story that he told there in Israel. So as a result, Dany Tirza is here tonight. But anybody who has been to Israel with one of my trips in the last couple of years has had the opportunity not only to hear from Dany Tirza, but to go up to the security fence and the security wall and have him explain it up close and personal, and to see the checkpoints and to see the traffic going through the checkpoints. If you want to have that opportunity, I hope that you'll join me on one of those trips. We have one going in March, as a matter of fact, on March the 2nd. In addition to that, I want to note that if you really believe that the security of Israel is important, and I know that all of us do, then one of the ways that you can be most supportive of that and most supportive of the continued cooperation of the United States and Israel and their joint ventures in security is to support AIPAC. And one of the most important things you can do is come to Policy Conference, which is at the end of March. We have forms on the table out there that you can take and fill out in order to become a part of the Policy Conference and join the 18,000 plus people who will be there, 3,000 student leaders from around the country, and help to lobby Congress in for the continued support of Israel. Also, you'll get to hear from people like Dany Tirza, who has spoken at Policy Conference a number of times, other military officials and leaders, but both the United States and Israel, diplomats, journalists, think tank professionals, members of the administration, both here and in Israel. So Policy Conference is a wonderful way to participate and to join us and come with Rabbi Peltz and Rabbi Wexler and I, who will be going there, and 40 people from this congregation who have attended, as well as a number of people from the wider community. I should also recognize that Bob Benedon is here. He's the local chair of the AIPAC in South Jersey. So you can speak to him, you can speak to me, you can speak to Jonathan Rich, and we can get you a synagogue admission, a synagogue registration for Policy Conference, which is reduced rate. 3 questions.
Most of the descriptions of the separation barrier you've given have been in the West Bank area. Yet I understand, and I've seen the barrier along the Egyptian border, and there's a lot of ongoing violence between Israel and Gaza. Can you speak a little bit about the current state of the barriers and the ongoing active conflicts in those areas, please?
Yes, of course. Israel have very long borders all over. The first fence was built along the border between Israel and Jordan after the '67 war, because there were a lot of Palestinians, terrorists that tried to cross it, and they were building the first fence there. Then it was built along the border with Syria. Now we're changing this fence with Syria to walls or high fences and more sophisticated fences. And we have along the border with Lebanon, the same system. Along the border with Egypt, it's another system. It's fences, but there the main problem that we have, that till the people, first of all, it's mostly against illegal immigration from Africa. You know, Israel faced a very big problem of thousands of Africans that try to get to the better world, to Israel, and we had to stop it. So there it's another system, because still the people are coming to the fence, they don't did any problem, and they didn't broke any law, so we cannot do anything to them. If they are inside Israel, they cross the line and they are inside Israel, they says, we are refugees, you have to protect us. So you have to catch them on the fence. So that's another system. It's the same idea, but it's 5 meters high, 5 meters, it's how much feet? So we have to catch them on the fence, and that we're doing, and really all this illegal immigration from Africa stopped along this line. Along the border with, it's not a border, along the line with Gaza Strip, we have fence from 1994, and it's very effective because in this area there is a space, a parameter along the fence that people are not allowed to come to the fence. There is a clean area, a parameter area, that if people are coming, we can shoot them, and they know it. And therefore, all these, what is called the returns march that they are making, we block it along the fence. They are not entering Israel. So it's very, very effective, although there are coming thousands of them at the same time trying to cross the fence, and we just block them along the lines. So it's very effective. Behind you.
Yeah. This is the last question, I think. Yes? So the security fence has clear benefits for Israel and its security, and has been, advantageous, and it's a great thing. But it does affect the Palestinian territory in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. What are some of the negative effects? And more importantly, you had mentioned that you were doing some sort of stuff to ameliorate, to make better some of those negative effects of the fence in the hope for bringing on peace. Could you talk a little bit about some of those types of projects?
Well, first of all, the fence is not entering territorial Palestinian territory because there is no Palestinian state yet. Israel hope that in the future we can divide, and although we believe that all this area belong to us, it's promised of God, you cannot deny it. All this area belong to us. We are ready to give something that belongs to us to the Palestinians, that just because we don't want to rule another nation. It's against the Jewish values to rule the Palestinians. And of course, we don't want them to be part of Israel. So when we are talking about the future, the borders will be decided only on the negotiation table. This fence is not a border. It's a temporary security fence. When we'll come back to the negotiation table, probably there will be other concerns, like ownership of land, like water sources, like holy sites, like archaeological sites, like planning, a lot of things that you can take in account when you are building a border in the negotiation. This is not a border. The border will be decided only in the future. Look in Jerusalem. The municipality area of Jerusalem is big, but in East Jerusalem, there are some Arab villages that were annexed to the municipality area of Jerusalem. When we'll come back to the negotiation table, it will be a common interest of both sides that these villages that are not Jerusalem, they are part of the municipal area of Jerusalem, that the line will be on a demographic line. Of course, there are other concerns, but the main thing that most of the Arabs will live under the Palestinian Authority or the Palestinian state. That we cannot do today. So, of course, if we can change the line in Jerusalem, we can change it anywhere else. We hope that in the future it will be peace and we won't need to build such barriers along the borders, but that's only a hope.
But we are a people of hope, and I want to again thank Dany Tirza for being with us here this evening. Thank all of you as well. I want to thank Steve Bornstein for working on the sound with us, and to Alex Weinberg, who helped us get set up with the visuals, to Jill for all of her efforts for this evening, and to Ron Safir as well. To all of you for being here. And again, if you want to help in a very serious and determined way to continue this important relationship between the United States and Israel and to work for the security of Israel, I would encourage you to get involved with AIPAC and join us at Policy Conference at the end of March. Thank you. Refreshments in the Friedman Auditorium to the left.